recommend is something, it consists of 6 basic steps. I'm going to tell you the 6 steps, and then we're going to look at them with a specific example one by one. So the first step is you find the verb and identify the number. If you don't know what I mean by number, that's okay, we're coming back to it. Second step, identify the noun case possibilities. I say possibilities because, as you know, different noun endings sometimes are repeated and can represent more than one case, and you should consider all the possibilities before you pick one based on context. Third step is that you find the subject. Fourth, you find the direct object, or you check for a direct object, excuse me. I specifically said check for a direct object because not all sentences are going to have a direct object. 5, you rearrange the sentence to, quote, normal English word order. Normal meaning what more basic, common, natural sounding English sentences, the order that they normally go in. And 6th, last step, is that you fill in the rest. The remaining words you have, you fill it in. And steps 2 and 6 have a star because they have sub-steps that you need to follow, but these are the 6 core steps. So, for our example, first step, you find the verb of the sentence and you identify the number. So to identify the verb usually ends in T or NT, with what we're doing right now. It's usually at the end of the sentence. And by number, when I'm saying identify the number, I mean singular or plural. The number of nouns for the subject. If there's just one thing, one person, one idea, whatever a noun is, it ends in T and it's singular. Note there's one letter for singular. And if there's more than one noun for the or more than one person, place, thing, idea, whatever, as the subject, it's plural, it ends in NT. Notice the plural has plural letters. So for an example sentence, Corneliam in agris Aurelia videt, our verb is going to be ending in T and at the end of the sentence, videt, right? And so since it ends in T, it is singular. It's important to identify the number of the verb because it could be rather important when you're looking at the rest of the sentence. And it's good to just jot it down so you have that already written down to refer to. So the next sentence, or the next step, you identify the noun case possibilities. So the sub-steps I was referring to, for each noun, you need to first identify the declension by checking the second form given. Remember, when you look up a noun, or it's given to you in the vocabulary, there are 2 forms, and you look at the ending for the second form. If it's AE at the end, it's first declension. If it's I, it's second declension. And if it's IS, it's third declension. Next, you identify the gender, which most of the time, or if you look it up, it's given to you pretty much all the time, and it matters what gender it is for when you're identifying the specific ending. Because when you go to identify the case by looking at a chart, you need to look at it based on the declension and the gender. So, our example sentence, going back to that, Corneliam in agris Aurelia videt. Let's look at Corneliam. It is from the noun, Corneliam. The form is from the noun, which is what this little symbol means. It means that it's from this noun, which when it's given to you is given as Cornelia, Cornelii, feminine. So, it is first declension because it ends in that AE just like we said. And it's feminine because it ends with the F. For masculine, it ends in M. For for neuter, it ends in N. So, it is accusative singular when you look on the chart for first declension, feminine. So what just to show you where we're coming from, what I mean by that is that when you're looking at the chart, that I give you, you're considering one specific noun. The charts I gave you look like this, noun endings, you have first, second, third declension. So what we have, Corneliam, we already said is first declension, so it's going to be this chart. And feminine, which, in the case of first declension, isn't a huge deal, but remember for second declension you have both masculine and neuter, and third declension you have masculine, feminine, or neuter. It's two different charts for those declensions. But for our specific word cornelium, you're looking at first declension, you're looking in the right chart, and then you look for just the ending within that chart. So with cornelium, you look for the ending. It's right here, am. So it is accusative and it's singular. That's where that was coming from on the previous slide. So we do that with all of the nouns. We did that with cornelium. For agris, actually, is an exception. I said all the nouns, but now I'm taking that back. Agris is a noun, it means fields, but because it is with a preposition, by preposition, remember, I mean little words like in, on, at, from, out of, all those little words, because it's with a preposition, it's in, a prepositional phrase, it's kind of its own little thing, and it, truthfully, in this example, and in many examples of prepositional phrases, it doesn't actually matter what case it's in. So, for translation purposes, right now, I'm just going to tell you it's not necessary to identify the case if it's with a preposition. So if there's a little word like in, the word following it, don't worry about it. I recommend bracketing it or putting parentheses or something. So for our last noun we're looking at, Aurelia, is from, and that's what that little symbol means. Aurelia, Aurelii, first declension, it's feminine. If you could look at the chart like we did with cornelium, you see that it's nominative singular. So for our third step, finding the subject. You find the subject, you identify it, because it's in the nominative. The subject is always going to be in the nominative case. That is the purpose of the nominative case, is that it tells you that that word is the subject. So, in our sentence, if you remember, we have an accusative, we have a preposition, and then we have the nominative singular. Therefore, our subject is going to be what is in the nominative, which we already identified, and so Aurelia is our subject. Notice that it is not the first word in the sentence. You must avoid that trap. Right? English, yes, subject usually starts the sentence. Latin, not always. Look for the nominative case. So our fourth step, check for a direct object. Remember, there's not always going to be one. But if there is one, it will be in the accusative case. The accusative case signifies that that word is a direct object, unless it's with a preposition or something. So our sentence, we already identified as cornelium being in the accusative, so we have our direct object with cornelium. Alright, so our second to last step, you rearrange the words to normal English word order. Normal English word order is considered subject, verb, direct object, right? The boy throws the ball. The girl writes a letter. Subject, verb, direct object. So when you're rearranging the Latin sentence, cornelium in agris Aurelia videt, we already said that cornelium's our direct object and Aurelia is our subject and videt's our verb. So we're going to have to rearrange it. And when you rearrange it and translate as you go, you end up with Aurelia sees Cornelia, right? Aurelia is our subject, sees is our verb, Cornelia is our direct object. That's our normal English word order. Then the last step is that you fill in the rest of the sentence. So what I mean by with the rest of the sentence is, in this example, there's a preposition, which we already talked about. So you put it where it was, close to where it was in the Latin. So in our sentence we have cornelium in agris Aurelia videt. In agris, it's close to cornelium. Usually you can keep the preposition with the word that was before it. So you have Aurelia sees Cornelia in the fields. Alright, fill in the rest. You put it close to where it was in the Latin. It was right with cornelium, and we're looking at someone in the fields. So to recap the 6 steps that we just went through in our example sentence. First, you find the verb and identify the number, whether it's singular or plural. Then you identify the noun case possibilities by following a couple of sub-steps. Third, you find the subject. Fourth, you check for a direct object. Fifth, you rearrange to normal English word order. And sixth, you fill in the rest.